It's early May 1956, and we're at Malton Airport, now known as Pearson International, where I'm about to embark on a summer job from early May through to about the middle of September. And that summer job was a radio operator for a field station on Baffin Island. And there to see me off was Linda and my family, Sister Pat, Dad, Mom, not shown here as Lois, but you'll see her a little later, and my best buddy Bruce, who was taking these pictures. The aircraft was a DC-4B, and for the trip up there it was loaded on one side with equipment and fruit and vegetables, and on the other side was the seats for the passengers, which I think was about 8 or 9 of us from Ryerson, plus an equivalent number of a company out of Texas who were running the equipment that the aircraft used for navigation. There's Lois and Linda, and you can see in the background a trailer called Kenting Aviation, and that's the trailer they were loading all the equipment from. That's a shot of the guys from Ryerson that were going up, and I have a model for the parka that we were going to wear when we were there. But pretty well at this stage of the game, everybody was sort of standing around waiting for the aircraft to be finally loaded and for us to take off. This was my first airplane flight, so I was pretty excited. Taken from inside the aircraft, that's a Super Constellation, which was the pride of the Air Canada fleet back in the early 50s. And the family to see me off. There's Bruce on the left, and Linda and Pat walking up to the plane to say their final farewells. Our flight path carried us west from Toronto over Sault Ste. Marie and towards Winnipeg, and that's a shot of the locks at Sault Ste. Marie and a picture of some freighters, I guess, waiting to go through the locks. As I mentioned, this was my first airplane flight, so I was taking a few pictures out of the window. The shoreline looked pretty interesting around Lake Superior. A lot more sand than I envisaged. Now this film was originally 8mm and was transferred to VHS tape. So you'll see some flickering, and you'll see some light from the projector in the middle of it. So the quality isn't great, but best we can do for posterity. This particular plane, DC-4B, apparently crashed a week after they took us to Baffin Island. So my mother was a little worried when she first saw it, being a rickety old plane, but it did get us there. We also passed over Thunder Bay, and I believe that's it in the shot now in the background. And from Thunder Bay we traveled almost to Winnipeg, and then turned north and landed eventually, and you'll see that shortly, in Churchill, Manitoba, where we had dinner. And the area in Western Ontario is known as the Rainy Lake District. And after we turned north, there was the first sign of ice. Now, as I say, this was early May, so when you get a lot further north, the ice and snow were still around at that time of the year. And that's a river, or a lake, I guess. I can't remember now, but it was frozen. And so we're well above the tree line, and we're starting to approach Churchill, Manitoba. And there we are on the ground. I guess that's the radar station for incoming aircraft. And they ferried us to a hut, well, more than a hut, like a hall, and they fed us dinner. And after dinner, we were standing around outside. The plane had to be refueled. That's an old York, what they called a York aircraft. Plane had to be refueled, so we stood around and sort of enjoyed the scenery and took in what was going on. This shot is the dew line station at Baffin Island. Now, most of our field stations were located on dew line stations, right next door. Some of the field stations were in the middle of nowhere. But our main camp, which was on Fox Peninsula, which is the southwestern end of Baffin Island, is where we had our main camp, and the dew line station was right next door. There's the company truck, and they had vehicles up there, but in the wintertime they kept the engines running all winter long. This was a major hub apparently for the area, so there was a lot of aircraft coming in and out, and most of the aircraft supplying the various dew line stations were DC-3s. It's one of the bombardier vehicles that they used to ferry us from the main hangar when we arrived to our camp, I guess I'll call it that. There's a shot of the dew line station. Those black things on the right are microwave, or low radar towers rather, and microwave on the big tower in the center, and the normal radar in the yellow globe. In those days we weren't supposed to take pictures of the dew line stations, but I obviously got away with it. The temperature when we arrived there was about 35 degrees below zero Fahrenheit. It was dry though, so we didn't notice things too much. In fact, we were there for a week without our Arctic gear. They forgot to unload it from the aircraft, and thank heavens that the sun was shining most days. When it wasn't, we stayed inside. But if the sun was shining, you could go out for a little bit without your parka on. They hadn't quite completed the main camp when we arrived, and they had not erected the communications equipment or towers yet. So what you see here is a large tower that's going to go up, that's going to allow the main camp here to communicate with all of the various stations in the area. All of our field stations employed gasoline generators for our power, and that's what I'm currently looking at the moment. Also, I don't think I was shaving at this point in time, so probably I'm a little itchy in the face from starting to grow a beard. The huts that you see in various shots here are where we slept and where we ate. There was one big hut that was used as the mess hall, and the other huts were for sleeping quarters. Some of us being there just temporarily, and others that were part of the main camp were there for quite a period of time. And that's the top of the tower antenna that you're looking at. Tom and I went for a walk one day, and we're right on the ocean, and there was this big hunk of ice, and it's hard to tell from the picture, but the bottom of the ice was a turquoise color, and there was a big hole below it, and there's Tom disappearing down the hole, and he will re-emerge a few minutes later. It obviously was big enough for a man to fit underneath this big hunk of ice. I think I was a little worried about going under it myself. And there's the ice that's piled up along the shore. Most of that is probably water at this point in time, or at least will be water once the summer comes, which about mid-July the ice will leave the ocean. You can just barely make it out in the center of the picture, just below the horizon there, but there's a dog team and a Eskimo sled traveling along. Another shot of another one of the communications towers that we used. That was the Shoran Tower, which they used for navigating for the B-17 aircraft, which they used for taking pictures of the island. The Shoran equipment came from an outfit in Texas, and they used they triangulated with two towers so that the aircraft knew where it was on the island at all times. obviously before the advent of GPS. This is another shot of our huts with the dew line station in the background at twilight. The sun's still set. It was still dark for a little bit, I believe, at this time of year. Here we have a shot of a plane that was stuck in the snow, and eventually you see a whole pile of guys, there they are, that pushing this aircraft. He was on skis trying to get him going. He kept going around in circles, and eventually they pushed him enough so that he was able to take off, and away he went. Why he landed there in the first place, I don't know. I mentioned earlier that they used DC-3s for transporting equipment to the various sites. This was a DC-3 that transported our equipment to our various field stations, and apparently they loaded a station on and decided that no, that wasn't the right equipment, so they offloaded it and put a different set of equipment on for a different station. In fact, the particular station that they were loading here and offloading, they landed a mile from where they were supposed to be, and they had to send in a team of people to transport all this stuff by hand for a mile through snow in order to set up at the proper location. I don't remember what this was a shot of. Obviously something was going on. Fuel truck for the aircraft. It was our camp coordinator, I suppose. He was sort of like the foreman in charge of logistics. Those are the two pilots of the DC-3. And here's the plane going to be taking off to take one of the groups to one of their field stations. One of the many wrecks that are scattered around this particular airfield. There's quite a few of them. I guess planes that have crashed coming in. And here's the same DC-3. Oh no, that was a different plane coming back. We were on the, oh, that's right, same DC-3